This first slide that I'd like to show you again helps put everything in perspective. Again, it shows the Green River. We're looking down from a very high airplane, and we're looking down at the Green River and the White River. The White River received a lot of attention last year because water did go over the levees. Wanted to remind our audience that the Green River is a very separate system. Has a separate drainage basin. The White River carries a lot of bed load. If you go down to that river, you'll see a lot of rock and gravel in that particular river. The Green River is a very different situation. In addition to that, the Green River is protected by levees, as Mr. Bean pointed out earlier. However, the levees do not exist along the entire length in the valley. In fact, the area immediately south of Kent and north of Auburn has three river systems, or creek systems rather, that come into the river. One of those is Mullen Slough. Another one is Mill Creek, coming from Auburn, a different Mill Creek than the one in the Kent East Hill, and also a creek that's over to the left of the Auburn Drive-In Theater. So the type of flooding that you see, or backwater that you see in this picture, is actually fairly normal, and we would expect that anytime the river comes up roughly half full. In fact, in this particular picture, the river was flowing at about 7,000 cubic feet per second, which is a little more than half full, and you will see this backwater. The reason is simply that the creeks that are coming into the river from the south cannot flow like they are right now, and so they basically just start backing up. This is primarily seen in the vicinity of the Smith Brothers Dairy. You might equate the levee system in the Green River Valley to a system of very heavy chains and links. So as you might imagine, a big giant chain that's holding a ship at anchor in Commencement Bay or Elliott Bay, that chain is only going to be as strong as its weakest link. So what the Corps of Engineers, the King County Flood Control Zone District, and the City of Kent have done over the previous years, as Mr. Bean alluded to earlier, is we have reviewed and analyzed the levee system. It has been reviewed and analyzed annually for decades, and the Corps, together with the county and the city, have systematically gone out and have replaced the weakest links first, because clearly they would be the most likely to fail should we have a problem. So for those of you that may recall, this was about a year and a half ago. This was a levee repair adjacent to the River Bend Golf Course. During that construction work, it progressed very, very well. And it was done largely over about a 2-3 month period, in the summer months, of course, when we don't have to worry about the river coming up. And that completed levee system was about a mile out of the 12-mile section that we have in the Kent portion of the valley. It was done very well, and this is what it looked like during the January 2009 storm. To quote the colonel, not the lieutenant colonel, but his boss, the colonel, if all of the levees in the Kent Valley looked like this one, he would sleep better at night, and so would we. And that's why we are on a mission, as Mr. Bean indicated, to replace all of those sections of the levee. The levee did very, very well during that particular storm, and here's another picture of that same area. Now, I'd like to add that even though this levee was adjacent to the golf course, we were not there merely to protect golfers in the rain. This actually protects the entire southwest flank of the city of Kent. In addition, if you'll notice in the background at the top right, that again is the normal backwater or the normal flooding that we expect to have almost every year in the Green River Valley. That's the backwater coming from Mullen Slough. It's an agricultural area, and it's been doing that as long as the dam and the levees have been in operation. In addition, this past year, 2009, the Corps of Engineers, together with the King County Flood Control Zone District and the City of Kent, embarked on another levee replacement repair project. This one was to the south of the city, still within the city limits, basically where South Central starts crossing over the Green River. It's called Horseshoe Bend because it looks like a horseshoe, again, if you're in that airplane way up. The work also progressed very well. The Corps is very good at rapid work, and this work was again completed in fairly quick time, and the levee was reconstructed with significant armament, shall we say, and much more stable conditions than what we had previously. In fact, this work was just completed the better part of a month ago. And this is what the final product looks like that you can see today. I'd also like to add that it's not just about replacing a levee. Clearly that is the primary concern for this winter. But in addition to that, the Corps, the King County Flood Control Zone District, and the city are also treating the river as the amenity that it is. It is a riparian corridor. It supports salmon habitat. And so this riverbank will be planted just like other sections have been, and it will grow with native type of trees and shrubbery that will basically be suitable for fish and other creatures that hang around the river. The brown matted material that you see is not beauty bark, but it's a type of soil that generally survives and encourages the plant growth fairly quickly. So if you come back in a few years, you should see a very healthy, more normal, natural-looking river. Again, this is the Horseshoe Bend from the air, and I'd like to point out, in case you see some backwater beginning in the valley, this again would be to the east side. You can see the general shape of the horseshoe of the river in the middle of this picture. And again, notice at the bottom left, you'll see some backwater that's between the Auburn Drive-In Theater and the river. That's very normal. That's a creek that goes into the river, and so, of course, there is no levee on the south side. As Mr. Bean indicated, together with the Corps, the district and the city of Kent are working mightily to replace the entire levee system. We've completed the Horseshoe Bend to the lower left. We've completed the levee repair in the Horseshoe Bend and a small section to the north. And we are working on planning and design for sections that we will be rebuilding this next year. But as you might imagine, we have to limit our activities to the drier summer months. So far I've been talking about permanent replacement of the levee so that we could have more certainty with respect to how the river system operates, presuming a healthy Howard Hanson Dam. In addition to that work, we are preparing for this year's season. We have a giant sandbag filling operation going on right now as we speak up on the west hill of Kent, directly below Military Road. This is a large borrow pit that the city owns. It's just below Military Road, and if you walk out of the building, look up to the northwest, you'll see some giant floodlights that are working up there. It's not in a neighborhood. It's on that new roadway that goes up the hill that we call 231st Way. And we have two crews working around the clock, basically, and they are filling what we call giant sandbags. That work began last Saturday, and they have already filled approximately, I believe, 4,500 sandbags as of this morning. So they are on a roll, and we expect to deploy those sandbags along the river beginning on Saturday. Just to give you some indication, you may have seen some of this on the news. So we're basically in full swing on raising the freeboard, if you will, or the safety factor along the entire levee system in the city of Kent. I might add that we are also doing this in conjunction with the city of Tukwila and the city of Auburn. When we're complete with that, we will have the entire levee system raised with additional freeboard to essentially fight the threat of any potential flooding or overtopping at the levee itself.